Alright, breaking news, I guess. Donald Trump has officially announced that the U.S. will be, for now, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord. Uh, this is, of course, no bueno because, global warming, climate change, economic reasons. For example, I think the last year, one article I came across from, or a page I came across from NASA actually put 26, like written in July of 2016, put the first half of 2016 as the warmest year ever. They're actually saying that was sort of like the tipping point that we would hit before the effects of climate change would be irreversible in some ways. That happened last year. So basically, even now, if we were to do everything, just completely do a 180, everyone finally started believing in climate change, and everyone actually finally started acting to combat it, we would still be, we are still going to experience at least some effects of climate change in the future. But of course, they haven't acted on it. Drawing out with the however, he's saying like, oh well, we're drawing for now, but with the option to come back into it, to renegotiate because he's such a good negotiator and like, he's a fucking idiot. But anyway, so honestly, going at this point, I'm honestly not sure exactly what's going to happen because, a big part of that was one of Trump's campaign promises, one of the few he actually seems to want to keep, where, he said, okay, well, I'm going to tear it up. I'm going to tear up the Paris Climate Agreement, and we're not going to do any of that because that's climate change is bogus. Well, problem is that also has a lot of negative effects for the country, and that was a campaign promise made for when he knew even less than he knows now about the ramifications of it. But see, that's the thing, like, he leaves the door open. So, okay, that was a big part of it. Like, okay, we're going to get out of the Paris Climate Accord. We're going to tear it up on day one. It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal for America. I only do good deals. Like Trump steaks. But anyway. However, he left the door open to go back in. Because here's the thing, that leaving the Paris Climate Accord, or withdrawing, has a lot of ramifications. Both in like international relations, in economics, in job creation. For instance, the climate agreement ensures that a lot of money goes to, a lot more investment goes towards clean energy, which right now in America, even without the Paris Climate Accord, clean energy jobs in America are actually growing like 12 times faster. Is it 12 times or 12%? 12 times faster than any other part than the rest of the economy. In fact, clean energy jobs are producing something like 2.5 to 1, producing more jobs at a rate of 2.5 to 1 than the fossil fuel industry. In fact, in addition, industries like coal, things like that he has espoused as like put up there like, oh, we're going to bring back the coal mining jobs, even though they've been in decline since the 70s, with virtually no change, regardless of Republican or Democrat being in office. We're going to bring back these jobs. Even people in his own administration are saying, no, it's not going to happen. And see, that's the thing too. Like he campaigned on this BS that he was spouting, typical right wing kind of thing, saying like, oh yeah, this climate change is all nonsense. Oh, it's a bad deal. It's gonna, it's basically the same thing he's done on many other issues. It's like, because it was Obama that did it, it's a bad deal for America, and it needs to be eliminated. Without any actual knowledge. In fact, that's probably the criteria he used to determine whether or not something was good or bad. It's like, oh, did Obama do it or was supportive of it? It's bad. It's bad. We need to get rid of it. Because you look at it like, and you see that as a pattern throughout his presidency so far, like with the START treaty. He didn't know what it was. He just said, like, oh, it's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. It's harming America. It's a raw deal for America. Russia obviously has the advantage in this treaty. It's, we need to renegotiate this. Well, because Obama was the one who passed or got the updated START treaty or new START treaty through and implemented. Because, when you look at the treaty, his claims are absolutely bogus, because honestly, the treaty is less than 20 pages. It was like 17 pages. I read the whole thing. Nothing in there gives Russia the upper hand over America in anything. So the fact that he just jumps right in saying, oh, it's so terrible, it's so bad, it needs to be redone on no less than like a phone call with Vladimir Putin, to me, shows it like, okay, he never read it. He didn't know what it was. He's just like, oh, it's a bad deal because Obama put it through. Paris climate agreement, bad deal because Obama was the one who helped, who pushed it and supported it in the U.S. And the U.S. had a big hand in actually writing it. So, there's that one half of them that's like, okay, well, anything done by Obama is obviously a bad deal, so we have to get out of it and renegotiate it. But in actuality, it's not. So I'm curious to see what happens from here, because, like I said, we're pulling out of it, but he's leaving the door open to go back in to renegotiate and re-enter it. Which honestly might be a thing where he's just like, change one or two things and, oh yeah, now it's a good deal. Now it's a great deal for America and we're totally for it. When in actuality, he's not going to do that much. And, if that happens, at least we'd be back in it, at least we'd be doing something and be able to reap some of the benefits of this agreement. Even though it's going to make the country as a whole look like a bunch of fucking idiots. That's the thing too. Whenever Trump does anything involving the international community, my God, it's embarrassing. It's just like this, dude, shut up. You're looking like an idiot. You're representing this country, and you're a moron. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know how to act. You don't know how to act. You don't know what to say. You don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to make yourself look big and big and badass, and everyone else is just like, this fucking guy. But I don't know. As I said, we'll see where it goes from here. I think it's interesting because evidently within the White House there's sort of like a bit of a power struggle, because Bannon and the racist nationalist psycho / Jabba the Hutt lookalike, Bannon, and Tom Pruitt, the oil and gas industry whore that he is, were the main ones against the climate deal. Like, oh yeah, let's pull out. We don't need this. This is a bad deal. It's going to hurt Americans. Whereas a number of other people in his administration, Rex Tillerson, interestingly enough, Ivanka Trump, possibly Jared Kushner, I don't know. So, he's married to Ivanka, so it might be a situation where if he knows what's good for him, he'll would tell Daddy Trump that he should stay in. But there's a good portion, a pretty influential people in his administration that were telling him to stay in. So maybe that was the reason for the whole, we're pulling out, but we might re-enter kind of thing, which, again, everyone else involved in this agreement is probably going like, fuck, dude, yes or in or out. But, so again, we'll see where that goes, what that does as far as the future of this. And yeah, it's an issue. I mean, and see, that's the thing too with these agreements, that because I guarantee you, when he was initially thinking about the Paris climate deal, one, it's horrible because Obama supported it. Secondly, he was probably thinking, I don't know, climate change is a Chinese hoax. Not once, I'm sure, like, I highly doubt if, even at any time, if it crossed his mind, all the other benefits and ramifications for pulling out and the benefits for staying in. For instance, like I said, in the economy, you have more investment and more push for clean energy, an industry that's already growing, just absolutely exploding as far as innovation and jobs, that America is not going to be sitting out while the Chinese, who are not taking this as a joke, are going full steam ahead, who are already beating us in innovation and job creation and green energy. And there's also other situations, like, for instance, emissions. This is an area a lot of people don't think about. I mean, I hardly ever thought about it until I read an article one time about it. But emissions regulations. Now, basically, it was an article I read one time where it was actually Caterpillar. Caterpillar, like bulldozers, tractors, graders, construction equipment, that Caterpillar. They were actually all in favor of tighter emissions in the U.S., or boosting vehicle engine emissions, because the emissions in the U.S. were much lower than anywhere else in the world. So with a lot of and to make it costs them more to make engines and exhaust systems that can meet those emission standards. And so it was actually harming their business, because they had to basically make, they could either make two different vehicles, two different products, one for the US and one for elsewhere, and that cost them money, or they could make engines that met the global, like the higher energy emission standards, but it would raise the price here. So they would either lose money here or not be able to sell in other nations. So it put them in a spot, because, essentially they were stuck between two different regulations, and they're like, okay, hey, just go with the higher emissions standards, because then we can make one product for everything. And it's the same with automobiles and all other, aircraft, automobiles, things like that. They have to meet those emissions. They have to be able to build vehicles that can meet those emissions if they want to sell them in other countries. And so in some cases, it works out to be more of a pain in the ass or more expensive, and ends up harming their business, because either they build two different vehicles, or they build one and they have to charge more for it here than they had to before. And people are mad about, or don't like that. So there are those ramifications to think about, and that was something I absolutely will bet money he never crossed his mind during the campaign, when he was out there saying, "Oh, we're going to get rid of it. It's a bad deal." So as I said, we'll see how this goes. I wouldn't entirely rule it out just yet. Is the U.S. going to participate at the level that they would have, or were supposed to? No, I highly doubt that, but I mean, just on the numbers, you got you got Bannon and Pruitt, who are against it, or probably the key figures pulling him towards no. But you've got his family members potentially saying, okay, yeah, we should actually stay in it. So maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't call it an absolute lost cause just yet, but it probably is, but there's at least that chance. So thanks for watching. Same as always, like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you next time.